Google dare to ask us to pay $500 for these ridiculously ugly bezels, mediocre battery life and 2013 grade screen protection? Are they out of their mind with the Pixel 8a? Let's inspect. Right, so this, my dear friends, is the Google Pixel 8a, and it's a video that I'm working on a few weeks after the official launch, after all these emotions have settled down and you have seen all the hype and the hateful videos, and we want to have a good, balanced opinion on the strong and the weak sides. And it looks like Google are so cocky and confident in their good software Pixel-like experience that they tend to disregard the software development and still charge you just below the premium segment for a smartphone, which in some ways might look like a kid's toy. So it's time for a thorough inspection to figure out whether all the good and the bad sides are matching whatever we have heard so far, and to find out whether the Pixel 8a is a good smartphone to recommend. 8a starting price is $499, a fair amount on top of what Pixel 7a used to cost, and presumably Google may improve a lot of things related to the new generation. Of course, there's the reasonable doubt whether Pixel 8a is a good upgrade to 7a, or any better than 8 and 8 Pro series, or whether any of the tempting alternatives from Samsung, OnePlus, Xiaomi and many others are going to offer better value ratio. Therefore, let's unbox and see how good or bad the Pixel 8a performs. This part of the video is going to be rather short because Google like the minimalist styling. They keep their packages as vanilla as possible. Just as their famous stock Android is not going to give you all the customizations on Earth, they won't give you an in-box charger as part of the pack. And don't you worry, since the Pixel 8a has quite a basic charging standard implemented, you don't really need to buy some expensive charger. Of course, if you're open to the idea to use the Google branded one, it's gonna add another $30 on top of the price. If you need a screen protector or a case, think of spending another between $15 and $35 in most cases. A Type-C USB cable and conversion to Type-A are included, though. The phone looks, feels and sounds like a Pixel. I don't know how Google achieved it, but tapping on these phones always makes a weird sounding noise, and I can trace this by many generations back. It sounds cringe saying it, but this Pixel sort of reminds me of the older iPhone models. The camera bump here has reasonable dimensions, and the phone comes with shape similar to the regular Pixel phone size, not too big. I would say the kind of size I really like. If you hear about the specs, well, some of them are far from being ideal. The big advantage that Pixels right now have is the early access to new Android versions, the many years of software updates, the home-tuned Tensor system on a chip, which is in many ways having the Samsung DNA on the inside, but we can feel the wind of change in the past weeks and months. Note that these here are not flagship-grade specifications. Listening to all these specifications at moments feels painful, because yes, we do have certain improvements over the previous generation. For example, now we have a 120Hz refresh rate display, finally arriving to the Pixel A series. However, as soon as you put a light wallpaper, and you can immediately notice these bezels, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them because they look so thick, so unrealistically thick for a 2024 smartphone. Furthermore, the anti-scratch protection of this display is based on Gorilla Glass 3, something that Corning have released more than 11 years before Google have pushed this smartphone on the market. That's a very weird decision. The battery capacity inside is 4,500 mAh, approximately. I feel it's not enough, but the real problem here are the charging speeds, because in many ways they are a joke, especially compared to some other smartphones that you can buy for probably twice less money than this guy. I think there are high hopes about the system on a chip because we find this very same Tensor Generation 3, which is powering also the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8 Pro. Question is whether it is really capable enough to deliver, and looks like Google's R&D believe it's the right fit for the Pixel 8a. if I go for synthetic performance tests, you're gonna be mostly disappointed. There's been a lot of controversy around certain benchmark tools conveniently disappearing from Play Store when Pixel 8 series arrived. Google should not mask their own lack of processor pace, they simply should figure out a way to improve it. Well, Tensor G3's results are similar to latest Exynos releases, meaning that the processing power of this phone is far from ideal, according to these benchmarks. The good news is that with most of the daily tasks and usual activities, Pixel 8a is gonna serve you well, unless you're a heavy gamer, because a few minutes of heavy load are going to get your processor throttled, and it will have decreased performance. This is indeed its weakest characteristic, because the rest is fairly good. Excellent overall AI features, very good RAM management. Well, okay, I have to admit that it somehow must think that the battery juice has a very sweet taste because it seems to always be thirsty for battery. Standby times are horrendous, which I still find very weird considering Google's ability to refine the software. The Android 15 beta has been consuming more than 5% overnight, which is way above the threshold that I can tolerate, and this involves all the nice battery improvements added to Android 15. On the other hand, snappiness is great, so are the animations. Launching apps happens fairly quickly, despite the fact its UFS 3.1 understands slightly older storage generation. Oh, and only up to 256 gigs capacity without any expansion possibilities. If you wonder how this hardware mixture handles the camera setup, if we don't think too much about the fact that it literally dries up the battery, the camera experience is pretty neat. Pixels are famous for somewhat over-processing photos, which some people adore, and some not quite. If you prefer more natural-looking pictures, try to stick with the Pro mode. If not, every single snap will improve within a few seconds after the AI has worked its magic. The main image sensor is the same as last year, Sony made, not impressive in terms of specs, but Google again proved that most of the magic happens through the software optimizations. It is very close to the results introduced by Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro, with a great focus on the low-light photography success rate. The ultra-wide camera is also a nice-to-have feature and a mode that I very often rely on. Good news, Pixel 8a won't disappoint you with its ultra-wide camera setup. Quite the opposite. There continues to be no 24 frames per second recording setting. There aren't too many camera features available in the app. Remember, simple and minimalist approach. The usual Pixel experience styling, something I quite like. Oh, and this magic editor, it's what you're going to love. The more you use it, the more addicted you're going to get. It feels like beating Apple in their own game about software goodies. If you care about gaming, yeah, 8a will do fine in most cases, but it is just not that remarkable, and the phone is going to feel quite warm in many different occasions. Just get used to that. If you can't, then you're gonna have to pick another mobile phone, because warmth is something standard here. Microsoft would call it a feature. The display is what saves the day here, with its high refresh rate and rather good peak brightness, although not any brighter than most of the good 2024 smartphones. As I mentioned already, the battery life is disappointing. If you hear someone talking about great battery life with Google Pixel phones from the 8th generation, better no longer trust this person's ability to be objective. Samsung-made SoCs are famous for being the reason for poor battery life, and their modems consume considerable amount of battery juice when using mobile data. It is of course not catastrophic, but certainly the close to 4,500 mAh inside feel a lot less as compared to the 4,000 mAh inside the Galaxy S24. As for software, they call it Pixel experience for a reason. Maybe the only other brand with such well-tuned software and somewhat more customizations is nothing. The most interesting news here is the Gemini Assistant, something that will gradually replace the Google Assistant. My first impressions are positive, and I hope to see it improving a lot over its little brother. Some other improvements are present too, such as the private space for sensitive apps, finally, the predictive back gesture, some big changes in the background as well concerning app execution and stability. Software is 8A's best side, and knowing that Google are going to continue supporting this device for 7 years is something we should deeply respect. Before the wrap up, I have of course a list with most of the drawbacks as I see them. Pretty sure that some of them are not a big deal, but feels like some of them are something that Google decided to intentionally not improve. Question is, why? In the end, is this the right kind of smartphone for you? Well, if hardware doesn't matter, I would say so, because in terms of software, it's kind of excellent. You have 7 years of software support, a lot of expected feature drops, which means that there will be a lot of software enhancements. You have fantastic operation of the OS, those buttery smooth animations and all the little goodies which get improved each and every time, and the early access to new Android versions. This is probably the best you can get out of the Android experience. On the other hand, when it comes to hardware, when you compare it to other brands offering a lot more for less money, it really starts to make the Google Pixel 8a look like a flop. And if you already are a Pixel user, even if we go back to generation 6, I don't see the 8a being a meaningful upgrade. I think this smartphone is for people who are looking to get a Google Pixel experience at the right kind of price, with 7 years of support, but coming from another brand. Otherwise, probably this thing is kind of a hard pass. At least that's my opinion, and I'm really eagerly waiting to hear about yours. You can join me in the comment section below the video, where we can talk about smartphones and what you think of the Google Pixel 8a. Thank you very much for watching this episode. I'm the Tech Mishka. Invite you to subscribe to the channel for more cool tech inspections, and maybe to become a channel member in order to support me in this journey to inspect more and cooler tech. Wish you a lovely day. See you around. Bye.